Hey guys, this is Callum from EnglishShooting and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be continuing the journey of getting your firearm certificate or shotgun certificate. We've covered things so far like picking your references, what guns you're going to go for, and most importantly for a sport shooting route here in the UK, becoming a full member of a Home Office approved club. But today is going to be all about completing your GP form. I had hoped that this video would actually be me filling out my application because Hampshire Firearms has finally reopened after the COVID-19 shutdown, and as soon as I learnt this I went straight online, filled out the application form, sent it away, only to then receive an email asking where the completed GP form was. And not only that, I only had 24 hours to return it to them, otherwise the application would be rejected. And I soon realised that wasn't going to be possible, so I actually very painfully had to withdraw the application, and I'm now currently seeking the completion of this form. So I want to make this video to explain the different ways you can get it completed, why you need to get it completed, but also to warn you and sort of as a heads up, don't make the same mistake that I did. Now, it's not the same for every county. They do have different ways of doing things up and down the country. This is, so far that I'm aware, it's only Hampshire and Thames Valley that insist on this form being completed first or attached with your application. I believe other forces are allowing you to do it while the application is being processed, but that is leading to a lot of delays and a lot of firearm licensing departments receiving complaints when it's actually the GPs that are holding things up. So I believe Hampshire and Thames Valley have done this to ensure that the application process is as smooth and quick as possible. So anyway, what is the GP form? Well, this is a form that it's not that you have to fill out, but your GP has to fill out, and it's to basically for them to disclose anything that would prohibit you from safely handling a firearm or shotgun, or being in possession of a firearm or shotgun certificate. And it covers things mainly around mental health, but there are potential physical health flags as well. So your GP is going to have to go through your full medical record and basically disclose if there is anything matching the subsequent list. So it's things like acute stress reaction, suicidal thoughts or self-harm, depression or anxiety, dementia, mania, bipolar disorder or psychotic illness, personality disorder, any severe neurological impairments, alcohol or drug abuse, any other medical or physical condition which may affect the safe possession of a firearm or shotgun, or a terminal illness within the last 2 years. So that sounds pretty straightforward, but actually one of the sort of number one questions I seem to get are people that have either been on some sorts of medication or are currently on some sorts of medication and asking whether that is going to prohibit them from gaining a certificate. Now, it really does vary from person to person how severe the physical or mental illness is, but the best thing you can do is talk to your GP and ask them first. Being in contact with them and asking these questions before applying, before even sending them this form, is going to be very beneficial in the long run, and it makes sure that you are fully aware of anything that you might not have considered. But this again isn't for you to decide. This form is going to be sent to your GP and they are going to do the work. They are going to fill it out, and no matter how much buttering up you do, they're not going to leave anything off there that they feel is relevant. However, and we will explain this and go into more depth during the application video in the future, but it's then going to be up to you later on to declare anything relevant on your own form. So actually having to get this form filled out first, it may flag up some things you weren't aware of, and then you can disclose, because I say it all the time, do not try and hide anything from your firearms licensing department. When you fill out your application, you might think, oh, okay, well that was like 20 years ago, it wasn't that severe, I don't think it's really relevant. Disclose absolutely everything. If you're not sure at all, put it on there, and then at least you can have a chat with your FEO. Just because you've had things like depression or anxiety, maybe a severe sort of chronic physical ailment, it isn't necessarily going to stop you straight away. There are many people that I know of that have had various illnesses or are still suffering from various illnesses, and their GP has supported them and said it's not actually going to make them a danger to themselves or the public, and the GP basically gives the sign off saying that they feel that they are fit to be able to have the certificates. And at the end of the day, it is your GP that makes the final call. The police are not medical experts, and they will rely on the expertise of your GP or medical practitioner to make the final call. So in terms of getting the form filled out, of course, going to your own GP, the one that you're registered with, is going to be pretty much the smoothest and easiest way to get it done. Now, with COVID-19 at the moment, I would phone your practice and ask them how you would like to submit it, whether they want it via email, via post, or if they have no issue with you dropping it off in person. But please do check beforehand. Now, this is where I've run into difficulties with my GP. First of all, they've told me that there is going to be a fee. They haven't told me how much that's going to be yet. But more importantly, because I want to get this application in as soon as possible, they've said it's going to take up to 2 to 3 weeks. Now, this sort of work is considered private work. Just like with HGV drivers and medical assessments, the GP does this usually outside of normal GP hours. So there is going to be additional fee. You're paying effectively for their private time to be able to do this. And of course, in terms of running their practice, this is going to become very low down on their list of priorities, and they do seem to get pushed further and further back. Hence why there have been so many delays around GP forms across the country. However, there are a number of other options that you can pursue to sort of speed it up or maybe even make it a little bit cheaper. The biggest and most known is MediCert. This is an online service. It is run by doctors, by licensed, registered doctors, and you basically provide them your details. They will then request your medical records to be sent to them, and they will then process the form and do everything that is needed. There is a fee of £50 for this service, which I think is pretty fair for the amount of work involved. But the downside is they're saying that it can take up to 6 weeks, and there are additional COVID-19 delays at the moment. So I'm thinking, okay, well, then the GP is going to be the best route for me. They might be a little bit more, maybe even a little bit cheaper, but it's 2 to 3 weeks. However, I've also been made aware of another company called Shotgun Medical. Now, they can do it in up to 6 days, which is faster than anyone that I've been in contact with so far. The fee for them is £60, but the reason that they are only 6 days rather than the 6 weeks of MediCert is because you need to provide them your own medical records. And you might be thinking, how the hell am I going to do that? How much is that going to cost? Well, actually, obtaining your own medical records is pretty straightforward and pretty easy, and I believe it's free. So there's an online access portal called Patient Access from the NHS. You need a code to be able to access this, but you can obtain that from your GP. Now, you will have to go into the practice to be able to verify your identity. You'll need a form of a photo ID, be that a driving license, be that a passport, or if you're going for a renewal and you already have an SGC or FAC, you can actually use those as forms of photographic ID as well. But you need to go in, verify that it's you, and they will give you a code. You can then come home, go on to Patient Access, put in that code, and then you can get access to your medical records, which you can then supply to Shotgun Medicals. And this is the route I'm actually going to do. 60 quid, I don't think that's a huge amount of money, considered that they still have to sift through all of your medical records, but it's really the 6 days that I'm interested in. Again, I want to get this application in as soon as possible, and that really is potentially going to be the quickest way. There is one last way that you can explore, which I have been also, is a private doctor. The reason I'm not doing that is, whilst I think they could potentially do it in a few days, even quicker than Shotgun Medicals, they want to charge anywhere between £200 to £400 for it. And whilst again I want to get the application in as soon as possible, £60 versus £400, yeah, well, I'm going to start saving for the guns instead and the ammunition instead and wait those 6 days. But if you know a doctor, if you are already using a private doctor, then that might be an avenue for you. That might be really, really quick, but it's probably going to cost you a little bit more. So again, in terms of filling out the form, that's nothing for you to worry about. Choose one of those paths, either your GP, MediCert, shotgun medicals, or finding a private doctor. Send them the form and they should then do the rest. And if you're in Hampshire or Thames Valley, you can then attach that to your application online, and then hopefully the rest of the journey we will be able to cover and experience later down the line. But that's really all you should have to do before doing your application. So I hope you found this video useful and it's been clear. If you have any questions, please fire them in the comment section below. The next video, of course, will be filling out the application form, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully it's going to be out in the next week or two, because, well, that's when I'm going to be doing it. Thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed for future videos. And as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.